In the summer of 1942, Adolf Hitler looked east. He desired the oil fields of the Caucasus. These resources were vital for his war machine. Stalingrad, a key city on the Volga River, stood in his way. The city bore the name of his nemesis, Joseph Stalin. Capturing it became an obsession for Hitler. He believed victory at Stalingrad would cripple Soviet morale and secure his grip on the Eastern Front. The German Sixth Army, a formidable force, was tasked with taking the city. Led by General Friedrich Paulus, they were confident in their ability to crush the Red Army. The Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, began a relentless bombing campaign. Stalingrad was reduced to rubble. Civilians and soldiers alike faced a terrifying new reality. The battle for Stalingrad, a clash of ideologies and ambitions, had begun. The German attack began in August 1942. Panzer divisions surged across the open steppes. They aimed to encircle Stalingrad and trap the Soviet defenders. The Red Army, though initially caught off guard, fought back with tenacity. They knew the importance of holding the city. Every street, every building became a battleground. The fighting was brutal and unforgiving. Close-quarters combat became the norm. Snipers ruled the ruins. Each side fought with desperate determination. The Germans, expecting a swift victory, found themselves bogged down in a relentless struggle. The Soviets, fueled by patriotism and hatred for the invaders, refused to yield. The battle for Stalingrad had become a war of attrition. Stalingrad was transformed into a nightmare landscape. Buildings were reduced to skeletal husks. Streets were choked with rubble and debris. The stench of death hung heavy in the air. Civilians, trapped in the crossfire, hid in cellars and basements. They endured constant shelling and bombing. Food and water were scarce. Disease was rampant. Soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable horrors. The fighting was relentless and brutal. Casualties were staggering. The summer heat was oppressive. The wounded often died from exposure or a lack of medical care. The Volga River, a lifeline for the Soviets, became a barrier of death. German aircraft and artillery targeted any movement across its waters. The battle for Stalingrad was a descent into hell. As autumn set in, the tide began to turn. The Soviets, under the command of General Georgy Zhukov, launched Operation Uranus. This was a massive counter-offensive aimed at trapping the German Sixth Army inside Stalingrad. Soviet forces, hidden in the surrounding steppes, attacked the flanks of the German salient. They smashed through Romanian and Italian units. These were weaker than the German forces. The German lines crumbled. Paulus's Sixth Army was encircled. Hitler, in a moment of delusional obstinacy, refused to allow a retreat. He believed the Luftwaffe could supply the trapped army by air. This proved to be a fatal miscalculation. The Luftwaffe could not deliver the necessary supplies. The German Sixth Army, once invincible, was now trapped in a frozen wasteland. Section 5. Winter's Grasp. The German Sixth Army encircled. Winter descended upon Stalingrad with a vengeance. Temperatures plummeted to unimaginable lows. The Volga River froze solid. The German soldiers, ill-equipped for the Russian winter, suffered terribly. Frostbite was rampant. Weapons jammed in the freezing temperatures. Starvation and disease set in. The Soviets, used to the harsh conditions, pressed their advantage. They tightened their grip on the encircled Germans. Supplies dwindled to a trickle. Ammunition ran low. The Luftwaffe, hampered by the weather and relentless Soviet anti-aircraft fire, could not deliver the promised relief. The situation for the German Sixth Army was becoming desperate. They were trapped in a frozen hell, surrounded by a determined enemy. Section 6. A fight for survival, life and death in the Kessel. Inside the shrinking pocket known as the German soldiers faced a daily struggle for survival. Food was scarce, horses were slaughtered for meat, there was no fuel for fires. They huddled in bombed-out buildings trying to stay warm. Despair began to set in. Yet even in the face of such adversity, acts of courage and compassion could be found. Soldiers shared their meager rations with the wounded. Medics worked tirelessly to save lives. Letters and poems smuggled out by wounded evacuees spoke of hope and longing for home. The human spirit, though battered and bruised, refused to be extinguished. Section 7. Hope turns to despair, the fall of the Sixth Army. As January 1943 drew to a close, the end was near for the Sixth Army. The Soviets launched their final assault. German resistance, weakened by starvation, disease, and lack of ammunition, crumbled. Paulus, finally allowed by Hitler to surrender, did so on the 2nd of February 1943. The once mighty Sixth Army, reduced to a shadow of its former self, ceased to exist. The news of the surrender sent shockwaves through Germany. It was a defeat of catastrophic proportions. Almost 100,000 German soldiers went into captivity. Few would ever see their homeland again. The Battle of Stalingrad, the turning point of the war on the Eastern Front, was over. The Soviet Union had won a victory at a terrible cost, but a victory nonetheless. Section 8. Victory at a cost. The aftermath of Stalingrad. The victory at Stalingrad came at a horrendous price. The city lay in ruins. Hundreds of thousands of Soviet soldiers and civilians were dead. The human cost of the battle was almost unimaginable. Yet the victory had an electrifying effect on the Soviet people. They had defeated a seemingly invincible enemy. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a turning point in World War II. The myth of German invincibility was shattered. From this point onwards, the initiative on the Eastern Front shifted decisively to the Soviets. They would push the Germans back relentlessly, eventually reaching Berlin 2 years later. Section 9. Legacy of a battle. Stalingrad's place in history. The Battle of Stalingrad stands as a testament to the human capacity for both unimaginable cruelty and extraordinary resilience. It was a battle fought not only with tanks and guns, but with an unyielding determination to survive. The victory at Stalingrad marked a turning point in World War II, paving the way for the eventual Allied victory. Today, the city of Volgograd, as Stalingrad is now known, stands as a symbol of the human cost of war and the enduring spirit of those who fought and died there. It serves as a reminder to future generations of the horrors of conflict and the importance of peace.